This property at 40 Roseville Avenue was sold prior to marketing, so it was one of the very first land sales in all of Roseville. The home was built in 1896. It's one of the first homes in the area. They held it for a very long time. It became a private hospital, became heritage listed. The Armatis have lived there for 74 years. There's just so much history to a house like that. It's just one of those landmark properties that everyone in the suburb, or most people in the suburb, would know about.
We purchased Roseville from my parents in 1978.
But having two houses to look after was getting too much for us.
Houses like that, old houses, are expensive to maintain.
Yeah, and it's a house that needs to be lived in.
I've been very sorry to sell it, but comes a time with the assistance from James, we've managed to do that. We had another agent in. He tried very hard, but the market wasn't prepared to match what I required as an absolute minimum. James saw the place had been on the market for quite a while, so his timing was immaculate, and we liked him. He persuaded us to go with him.
Look, it was a bit of a unique one because it had already been on the market for 2 years. The reason it didn't sell wasn't because of lack of effort or lack of skill. I think it just needed a different approach.
Our house had a heritage order, which caused quite some concern for a lot of people because it was quite limiting. I think quite a few people who came through just didn't want to go through that hassle and the time involved.
One of the main hurdles was the heritage listing and the uncertainty of what you could do to turn it into a more modern, more livable home for a modern family. With that being the hurdle, we engaged local heritage architect and we had 3 concept floor plans drawn up, which we then used as part of the marketing, and we got some really good PR. The house had never had PR, and part of that PR was explaining that we'd engaged a local heritage architect and that we had new plans drawn up and there was a way to overcome the hurdle. People started calling, saying, you know, I love the house, I've always admired it, I didn't think you could do anything to it. Can you send me the plans? It's really interesting, and it just sort of opened up the door to a conversation and allowed us to sell the vision for what could be.
When James came in, he suggested that we had it styled. It brought it into a younger person's house.
9 times out of 10, you're buying it for what it is rather than selling what could be.
I think the fact that he had it styled gave just a totally different look. Most probably attract a different group of people because it looked as though you could just move straight into it.
I think that people will look back and say, that's a great buy. You know, I think that with some attention to the home and some minor updates, it could very easily be the crown jewel in the suburb.
James kept us informed every time the house was open, how many people came. We didn't interfere with what he was doing. We gave him full reins to try and sell it the way he wanted to. We'd put it in his hands and we were happy with no huge amount of effort that he was putting into it.
When the offer came in, I just remember thinking to myself, wow, I was right. There was someone there. It just took a little bit of time. Sometimes the sales need to take a bit of time. They're not always so clear cut. They're not always a 4-week auction campaign with the sale on Saturdays. It's just, not everything is that easy, but it's the beauty of what we do. Everything's different. We're allowed to think outside the box and to find new ways of marketing properties and to explore different strategies and different marketplaces and find what works. And I'm very lucky to be able to do what I do.